Okay, so, alright, I am going to run through loadouts, builds, different things like that, because I know the game doesn't really hold your hand and tell you about it, so I want to kind of run through what makes some cards good, what makes some cards bad, what reasons you might have to build a deck in a certain way, and why that 3-3-3-3-3 build you're running is probably not playable. So, a couple things we can talk about first. Your talent, your loadout is meant to mostly further specialize you. It can help you in certain ways. There's some characters that only have one loadout that makes them good because it has cards that kind of get enabled, but as of right now, your loadout, you want it to be specialized towards your talent that you have. You want to be able to have a character that is you doing a specific thing. That's kind of what you pick your talent for. Now, I know the game doesn't really tell you. Again, you load in and then it kind of just gives you the talents. You're like, what? And then you click on the loadout and you're like, what? And the game doesn't really tell you how to do it. But every character, as you know, has 3 talents. Help them specialize in a different way to do a different thing. And most are playable. There's some that aren't. I'll run through those when I go down to the specifics, but now we're kind of doing more of a general discussion of why you would run certain cards, different characters. So, first off, I will go and talk about the types of loadout cards are kind of different. There's cards that all have different things, but there's generally some themes that kind of get carried over across the board from every character. First, though, in terms of the loadout space, as you know, you have 5 cards and 15 points to spread between them. Let me go to a character that doesn't have all the builds. So you have 15 points to spread between them. So you pick 5 different abilities to be used in a certain way. And then you can amp them up or amp them down depending on what they do and what you want to do with your build. So, you know, some builds, maybe I want Conduction at 5. I don't know why I would ever run this card at 5, but maybe I want that card at 5. I can do it that, then another build, I need more space, so back it up, play with it, set a little further back to open up more points for other things. In general, though, I want to talk about the types of cards that are in the game, because every character has some unique cards, but there's a couple that really kind of stay to a theme. Torvald is probably the worst character for me to show this to you on, so I'll go to a generic character like... we'll do Leon. So, actually, no, she's a terrible choice for this. She has a lot of unique cards. I'll do a tank like Koa. So, Makoa. Every character usually has some card that gives them some type of healing when they hit an ability a lot of the time. So, Makoa has lifesteal for this, or he has healing when he hits with that. Most of the time, healing cards aren't going to be that great. Most of the time, their abilities get negated from Cauterize. There's something that will kind of make the ability a little bit worse. Like that. And most of the time, when you're making a loadout, you want to make it something that the enemy doesn't have as many answers to. Something that's more in your hands than in the enemy's hands. There's a few exceptions to that, but a lot of the time, you want to play for things that help you more than anything. Rampage. You're going to get a lot of eliminations on Makoa, so moving faster is good. What's the counter to moving faster? I mean, yeah, they can slow you, but not everything in the game has a slow, and this will counteract that. So as opposed to a card that maybe gives you healing on eliminations, like Kill to Heal, something like that, or if there was a Kill to Heal in the build, you'd want to run something like this, because there's less of an answer to it. So when you look at your cards, you have to consider what the enemy can do in response to you. So other things maybe that can help you in that situation. What else is kind of uncounterable? Damage reduction. There's no true damage. There's no piercing outside of very few things in the game that are mostly like executes, like Drogo's Dragon Punch, things like that. A lot of those things are going to be what will pierce through, but otherwise damage reduction doesn't usually have an answer in a lot of ways. Something that maybe makes your ability move a little bit further, something like this. Nothing is going to make that worse. So that's the kind of thing you want to be looking for in your builds. Another thing, yeah, so you can kind of consider that in a lot of ways. Like, if you can hit enemies with this, you can get CD. This is great because this is guaranteed, because it's not like they're not going to try to kill you. So of course you're going to hit this mark at some point, and it can help you get out of a sticky situation. You want to try to run builds that kind of open up more possibilities for your character, to give you more flexibility in more situations, while still kind of being specialized to what you do. There are definitely characters that have more varied builds depending on the talent that you select. I'm trying to think of a good option to show. Someone like Grok. So Grok's 3 talents, as you guys might know, as I press escape the wrong way. He has Totem Heal, Main Attack Heal, and his attacks will chain his shock pulses. So when you're going to be running his builds, I mean, you can swap totally different styles. You can have one more focused on combat and staying alive and being healthy for Maelstrom. You can have one that's all about your totem and resetting it, making the totem bigger so you can have more options with it. Or you can have one that's focused on, well, this is actually focused on the totem still. I chose to have that build for my primary attack, but if I wanted to, I could have stuff set up for the primary attack heal, like more ammo. I could have more regeneration on my ammo so I can be left-clicking my team even faster. Different things like that can all work and help out. So all good options you can leave open for yourself, and things that kind of let you be more flexible within the use of your talent. Another thing to look out for when you're building decks is what cards are still good at a very low level. What can give you a decent benefit even if you put it at 1? Because, again, you don't really want everything at 3, because since your talent makes you more specialized, you want to have your build be pretty specialized too, or just pump it into something that will help you get away in a situation, like with Cassie. Big game, the meta talent for her right now. Of course, I want max cooldown on the thing that makes my big game trigger so I can have more opportunities to mark more people, therefore I get more damage. I want something like that, so I'm looking for a filler. Well, a whole extra shot, that's an extra 650 damage. I can run into 1. I'm choosing to run into 2, but that's a lot of extra damage. 10% further with dodge roll. That might get me out of some situations. What if I instead ran... I'm trying to think of something bad at level 1. 125 healing when I hit disengage. Gets cauterized. If I'm running healing, it has to be very high, or I have to be a character that can cleanse cauterize very effectively. So I wouldn't want to run a card like this. I would want something that's a little more flexible at low levels. 10% lifesteal. That's 200 credits every time I roll, but this isn't even a roll-focused build. I wouldn't want that as my filler card. It's my one of. So having good filler cards is important too, to maximize what you get out of your loadout. So let's say I wanted to build a loadout for... let's do someone with some decent variation. Let's do Zin. So let's say I want to build a loadout. Let's look at his talents. I'm a new player. I want to play a talent like Smolder. So let's say I want to make a Smolder build right now. Smolder, what does it do for me? It makes me heal for about half of my maximum HP. So it healing me, it lets me stay alive longer. So I probably want to build that will amplify my ability to survive as long as possible. So with that in mind, let's go make a Smolder build. Let's even name it Smolder. So Billow is what heals me. So I'm looking at the Billow cards to see if there's anything that will help that out as much as possible. In terms of sustain, I have Fan the Flames. That will get me, even when I get a kill, that is a little inconsistent, but because I'm not always going to get a kill, a teammate might take it from you, make it a little harder to get for sure. But still, seems decent. I can get a reset. It reduces. It's the only way for me to reduce the cooldown of that ability. So considering it's the crux of my kit, I want it at least, for sure. Now beyond that, what does my ability do? It regenerates based on my maximum health. Does anything else have to do with my maximum health? Well, looking through, yes. Infamy increases my maximum health, which means that I'm going to get more healing. Beyond that now, so I have those two things. If I'm looking to have something else that works with Billow, well, if I'm getting healed, I want some more options, some more opportunities to do things. So I'll increase my movement speed so I can be a little more flexible within my Billow usage. Okay, beyond that, now at this point we have 3 cards. We're probably going to specialize in these, so maybe we can look for fillers, or we could see if there's anything else that stands out to us in terms of helping us survive, giving us more sustain. And honestly, not really. Looking across the board here, there's really nothing that screams that to me. So now, beyond that, I want to think about maybe what my class will be doing. I thought about my specialized talent, but what does Zin do? Zin's a flanker. He's going to be flanking, he's going to be dueling people on the side. So what can help me with that in a way that won't be countered by other things? Well, upgrading my mobility could be big. I'm using Billow a lot to heal, so maybe having more mobility after Billow would be a good idea. Alternatively, I could use something like this, where I can whirl further. But if I'm running this, then I might as well have this too. because it has synergy where I'm getting more whirls, and if it's all stacking together, that's going to help me out. So boom, I have 5 cards all based on what my class is supposed to do, what kind of character I'm playing, and the role I fill in general. So now 20%, I probably want a little higher than that. We could do 80. That means if I get a kill, I'm probably not going to get a kill immediately after my billow is over. So I can save a point here by having that little extra bit of breathing room. If I want a little bit distance, more max health because it works better with Smolder. And I can honestly just put an extra point in all of these. I can see what goes on here. 20% is a pretty decent distance, but I think with how short of a duration Billow is, I probably want to put a few more points into this. And boom! I made a Smolder build. And this is it. This will help me specialize. I'll be spamming Billows. I'll be healing for even more than I would have been before. Faster, able to travel more often when I use my Billow. I made a pretty flexible build for Smolder. So this is something I can kind of fall back on. And now, let's compare that to default build. I'm faster, but I have no way to get more whirls. I have no way to get more Billows. It's all about generic. It's just generic Zin. It's just, I'm getting some heals and some stain. Sure, I could run this in my build, but specialize, it's just going to make me play better. For sure. It is just going to make me play better. So I have a lot more options now with this, because now I can use Fan the Flames. It opens up my skill. I can use Fan the Flames to get more Billows, to get more heals. I can use Hideout to get away from sticky situations more often. I've opened things up for me. So across the board, that's something you want to be considering a lot when you're making decks for different characters. And one thing I want to also mention is a lot of the cards have similar effects, but they do it in different amounts, and sometimes the numbers need to be looked at a little closer. So take a good look at the wording of a card before you run it in your build. Think about... I need to skip this song. I can't believe this song came on shuffle while I'm trying to do this serious. It's actually, I let that whole song play through. Look at the numbers on the card and how they heal you, or how they give this effect to you, or how long they give the effect to you, and weigh that against the cooldown of the ability that you're running. So if I look at Furia, she has a card that, like, oh wow, look at all this healing. 525 healing, that's a lot. But it's over 3 seconds. You see the number, you think it might be a good card, and this card's not terrible, but it's not giving you the same value you think it is. You'd have to take 525 divided by 3 to find out how much healing you're getting per second, and that makes a pretty big difference in the numbers of the healing that you're getting. It's only 175 per second, and that's not even active all the time. Meanwhile, take a card like that. This card says 525, big number. You think it might be good.
Genos.
Go into Genos comparatively. You go here. This card at 5, it only says 200. But that is more than the other Furia card. So just looking at that, doing the math, figuring it out, is how you tell. And the Fury at 3 seconds versus the other cooldown will... I'll always have this active. This card will always be active because I'll always have a mark on a teammate because the cooldown is equal, right? So this is for 10 seconds after I heal somebody. But the cooldown of Astral Mark is 8 seconds. Even with no cooldown cards on my heal, I'll always have Relativity active, as long as I'm always healing my team. Furia, her default cooldown to heal the soul is 4 seconds. Yes, you can run a card that reduces the cooldown of that heal to make it more equivalent, but if I don't run that card, then suddenly Burning Oath isn't active all the time. I don't always have this benefit, whereas Genos does. So looking at the cooldowns, looking at that, the benefit they give you is a big deal. Another big part of it would be, speaking of that comparison, if I look at a character like Khan, he has a card here, heal for 80 after activating Commander's Grab. I can make it up to 400, right? This is still 400 health every 12 seconds. That's not very good. If I want to see a comparative card, I can go look at Vigorous Defense. Heal for 125 every 1 second. Now, this doesn't seem like a lot. It is only when you're shielding, too. Doesn't seem like a lot comparatively, but 400 healing on that. If I hold my shield up for 4 seconds, which I will be, I've already outpaced that healing in 4 seconds. Yes, this is over time, the other one's a burst, but usually you're not really getting shot too much when your shield's up in the first place. So you're gaining more that way. There's a lot you have to weigh when you're considering what to be running in your builds to optimize it the most. Thinking about that, the only last thing I want to mention is that certain roles kind of have cards that you need to run. Certain characters like supports, cooldown on heal. Your job is healing. You need to be healing more. If there's a card in your deck that is heal more, you get that card. So Damba's a terrible example. So for a character like Ying, with life exchange, it makes her shatter heal. So shatter brittle 5. I'm running it. It is cooldown on my heal. I would never not run that at the max if I'm looking to heal. Seret, Soul Forge. Cooldown on my heal. I never will not run this on my healer deck. For tanks, there's a couple things. Your job is to be aggressive, to survive a lot of things. So a lot of the time, that's what your deck is going to be. So let's take a look at my main Makoa deck. There's no raw health on Makoa. But, so I want to play things that'll make me potentially be more aggressive. So I have distance on my spin. I want to go in. Cooldown on my hook. I want to get picks. Movement speed. I want to move quickly. And these are, again, every card in this deck, uncounterable by the enemy team. There's nothing they can do to make this worse in a lot of ways. Although, yeah, so for tanking, that's important. On top of that, what else would help you tank too? If I go to a character like Fernando. There it is. I forgot I have him top level. I need to clear a build. So for Fernando, I want to play things that'll help me tank, right? Shielding. Shield cooldown helps me tank. This is a cooldown that keeps me alive. Rejuvenate. When I'm low health, I get healed more. If I'm a healer is healing me, I'm doing more. Flat health. Of course I'm going to be tanking more if I have more health. That's it. It lets me survive for longer. It lets me get away with being more aggressive, and that's what you need on a front line. In terms of other abilities, I mentioned Xin. He's a flanker. So he wants to be mobile. He wants to be going around. He wants cooldowns that give him chances to outplay people. Damage characters, it's kind of up to you. A lot of people play passive cards on damage characters. Health helps a lot. Anything usually to amplify your talent, a lot of the time will help on them, or give them sustain. Because a lot of the time they're weak to being dove, so they want things that help them stay alive. So for Bomb King as an example, the meta build for him is health, heal on detonating sticky bombs, and reload speed so we can get to more stickies faster. Also, this Bomb King Loadout's a great example of a filler card that does really well. Jolt at level 1 makes it so I don't have to press my Poppy Bomb button twice to jump. I can just throw it on the ground, and as soon as it hits the ground, it detonates. That's only level 1. 1 to 5 makes no difference there. So that's an excellent filler card because it adds a lot to my build. Or Backdraft. It's only 0.1 second per sticky bomb, but the more sticky bombs I detonate, the more value it's going to get. Sometimes I can get 6 stickies off of that. And that's not bad. If Poppy Bomb's on cooldown, I'm buying a decent amount of time by having this at level 1. Another good filler card, something that I want to look for when I'm making a deck. I will touch on one final thing. I know I said last thing last time, but this is definitely the final thing. The ammo cards are good fillers too, because it's a whole another extra damage. I mentioned that for Cassie already. Your cards, all the numbers in the game that add up, diminish in value over time. There's a really complicated math formula for it. I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head, but let's say I play... What character has multiple speed abilities? Leon. So let's say I'm playing Leon, and I make increased movement speed after presence and increased movement speed at base, right? Both these together will not... I will not be moving 50% faster after I use presence. I will never do that. It will take the higher value, and then it will diminish it will not be a straight additive. It will be slightly lower. So, Signet Ring, that ability will count first because it's 35%. And then Highborn will add maybe... Highborn will add maybe... Actually, I can do the math right now. I made the calculator spawn. So I'll check the calculator to see the difference here. Where is it? Okay, here we go. Movement speed. No, movement speed. So 35 plus 15. $46%. So you're losing 4% of movement speed. It's close, but as it gets higher and higher, it's not as additive. It doesn't work. So like also if you buy Nimble in game, it will greatly diminish. So let's say I have those things combined with Nimble 3. If I go with that, so let's say I have movement speed, I have 35%, I have 30%, and I have 15%. You might be thinking, oh sweet, that's 80% movement speed. That's sick. 62% is the final value. You're still zooming. You're still getting something out of it, but you generally don't want to stack effects that much, especially ones that you can buy in game. Movement speed, the movement speed calculation is a little different from the other ability calculations. Movement speed doesn't diminish until 30%, and then it starts diminishing after that. So the numbers are a little bit different for movement speed versus other things like damage reduction, damage amplification. All that stuff diminishes further than speed does specifically. So that's more or less the build guide, at least the general build guide. A lot of things you want to keep in mind when you're making a deck, when you're making a loadout, when you're ready to load into a game. Please, for the love of God, don't pick the default build.